Hello there. Ready for some more chocolate? Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting company, so I hope it's not too long for everybody, but there's so much history and information and interesting facts behind the Grenada Chocolate Company that I feel like I've got so much to tell you. So, this is the company we're going to be talking about today, the Grenada Chocolate Company. So let me tell you a little bit about the background, and then we'll talk about the beans and how they make their chocolate and just so much interesting stuff. So the Grenada Chocolate Company was founded in 1999 by Mott Green, Doug Brown, and Edmund Brown. The person that I want to talk about the most is Mott Green, who is from New York City, and he was not born with the name Mott Green, he was born with the name David Friedman. He changed his last name to Green to reflect his idealistic values of sustainability and environmentalism. So his mom is a clinical psychologist. His dad was a director of medical services at a New York City hospital who would go to Grenada every winter to teach down there, and that is how Mott was introduced to Grenada. So he would travel with his family every winter to live in Grenada. The interesting thing for me, actually, is I got my first Grenada Chocolate Company bar from a friend who was living in Grenada who was doing their medical studies to become a doctor. So that's kind of interesting for me. So Mott was an overall interesting fellow. He was his high school valedictorian. He was accepted to MIT, but he decided to go to UPenn. And months before he was about to graduate from UPenn, he dropped out. And I'm going to read this quote because I want to get it right. He got it because accepting a degree would be capitulating to corrupt social structure. So that kind of tells you a little bit about Mott's, where he was. So he spent his 20s squatting with a group of anarchists in Philadelphia, and while he was there, he developed a free lunch program. He rescued food that was going to be thrown out from restaurants and gave it to homeless people. So he was doing good in his own way in Philadelphia. He decided to go to Grenada because basically he liked warm weather and the island vibe, and he came to Grenada with a backpack and planned to live on the beach. And he in total lived there for about 25 years. And when he first got there, he met a local who told him about an abandoned bamboo hut near his village. And so Mott went with him and fixed up the bamboo hut. And when he was living there, he saw that all around him in the tropical rainforests of Grenada, there was growing cacao. But no one was picking the cacao because the prices at the time just were not worth the effort to collect the chocolate. So he had been living in Grenada for about 11 years before he had the idea that why not make chocolate? So his idea was to have an organic cacao farmer and chocolate makers co-op. And he wanted to create the furthest thing from the chocolate that was associated with slave labor. The chocolate basically that was coming out of Western Africa, out of Ivory Coast. So he had a lot of idealistic values that went into creating this company. And this was actually probably the first tree to bar business model for cacao and chocolate makers. So together with Doug Brown, who is from Eugene, Oregon, and he had studied chocolate making in San Francisco, and Edmund Brown, they worked in Eugene to restore old European machines. Together they learned how to make chocolate, and then they shipped everything down to Grenada, where they built their factory in the village of Hermitage. And at the sustainability is one of the fundamental core values that is part of all the decisions that they make at the Grenada Chocolate Company. Okay, so let's take a look at the bar and I'll tell you a little bit more about stuff. Okay, so here's the bar. This wrapper, I got my first bar, it's got to be over 10 years now, at least 10 years ago. And it has the same design, no high graphic design here, just charming, adorable island design. So the Grenada Chocolate Company is a co-op that has over 200 acres of organic farms, no chemicals, no herbicides, no fertilizers, all certified organic. If we flip it over here, so the bar that we're going to have today is 71% cacao from Grenada, obviously. So if we take a look here at the back, let's take a look at the ingredients here. So we have cocoa beans, they're from Grenada. They use cane sugar, but they use minimal cane sugar. It's raw and it's organic, and they source it from Brazil. They have cocoa butter. Their cocoa butter, they extract their own cocoa butter from the Grenada beans using machines that Mott and Doug built and designed. They have soy lecithin, which they use in extremely small amounts because with the high humidity of Grenada, it's nearly impossible to make chocolate without the emulsifier. And sometimes their bars will have vanilla. This one doesn't have vanilla in it, but they also get organic vanilla from Costa Rica. So the cocoa solids are 71% minimum, so that includes the cocoa beans and the cocoa butter. But the Grenada Chocolate Company pays the co-op farmers 65% more than the local price for beans. So they're really paying for the value of these fine flavor beans. And the Grenada Chocolate Company was one of the first companies to produce fine chocolate where it grows. And many of their machines that they use are custom made, they're solar powered, and they're just really, sustainability is their core value, and they do what they talk about. So Mott actually lived on the second floor of the factory in very humble accommodations. There's a documentary that was made about Mott, and it's really interesting to watch if you have the time. So all the beans grown in Grenada, as I'm opening this bar, I'll tell you, I love this. I love the handwritten, the batch number and the handwritten expiration date. All the beans in Grenada are considered fine flavor, high quality beans. The cacao beans actually have quite a long history there. They were brought by the French. I'm going to try and do this without ripping it, but I don't think I'm going to be very successful. They were brought by the French in the early 1700s, and they, nope, not going to be able to do it. And at one point, Grenada was the world's largest exporter and producer of cacao. So the Grenada Chocolate Company says that by fermenting their own beans, they are able to control the process that allows them to get the best phenolic flavor profile. Oh, this is a beautiful bar. If you've ever lived in a high humidity area or worked with chocolate in a high humidity area, you know how finicky chocolate can be with that high humidity. But this is a fairly good looking bar. I mean, you've got a few little air bubbles, but that's okay. That's not going to affect the taste. Nice color to it, nice shine. It looks like it's been nicely tempered. It has a great aroma. Oh, it's thick. Good thick bar. You're getting your money's worth with this bar. It's got added cocoa butter, so not a super strong snap, but it looks well tempered, fine grained. Let's smell and taste. Okay, so I couldn't snap this in half. It's so thick I had to bite it. So sorry, it doesn't look pretty. But this is a really nice bar. 71%. It has a nice brownie-like aroma, a little bit of maybe tobacco smell underneath that. When you start putting it in your mouth and start to eat it, you get the fruit right away. Red berries, tropical mango kind of pineapple flavor, dried fruit. In the back of your mouth, you have a little bit of a tannic flavor, which may be that tobacco smell that I was smelling earlier. And then as the flavor develops, you hit more citrus, more red fruit. The fruitiness really gets strong towards the end. This is a really nice, fine flavored bar that the Grenada Chocolate Company has put together, and I want to take another bite, but I won't because I've got more to tell you about this. So when Mott first started the Grenada Chocolate Company, there's a government entity in Grenada called the Grenada Cocoa Association, where the farmers had to sell their beans to this association, and then they would sell the beans to the world. They were not happy with Mott because he was using the beans and fully and partially processing the beans on the island, so he didn't have to go through them to sell his beans. So at the peak, the Grenada Chocolate Company had about 50 factory employers, and they were all employees, and they were all earning the same salary. And in 2011, the Grenada Chocolate Factory was recognized by the United States State Department for their excellent sustainability and practices and their positive effects on rural economies. So the farmers in Grenada realized that if they were to partially or fully process their cacao beans, that they wouldn't have to go through this middleman, the Grenada Cocoa Association, and they would be able to get more money for their product. So that upset the Cocoa Association a little bit, but there are now more cocoa chocolate producers on the island. There's a few that I know of. There's the Tri-Island, there's Crayfish Bay Chocolate, there's Belmont Estate Chocolate. There's even a festival if you want to go to Grenada. There's a Grenada Chocolate Festival every year that started in 2014 that happens, I think, in May. So they've done a lot of good for the farmers, for the economy on Grenada, for once again getting the fine flavored beans of Grenada recognized in the world chocolate community. Unfortunately, Doug Brown died from cancer in 2008, and Mott Green died in 2013. He was 47 years old. He was actually electrocuted while he was working on solar-powered machines for cooling chocolate during overseas transport, which was another thing that Mott did. He transported his chocolate overseas sustainably, so he did it on a sailing ship called the Tres Ombre, and it was a sailing vessel, so they used minimal fossil fuels. Edmund Brown is the only founder of the three men still alive, and he still works as part of the chocolate making process at the Grenada Company. So this is a really influential company, really important to the people of Grenada, to the island of Grenada. Matt is quoted as saying that his progression towards chocolate was being an activist, loving Grenada, loving cacao, loving machines and tinkering, and then loving making chocolate without hurting the land. And the values of this company is what fine flavor chocolate is all about. It's about great taste, great values, and sustainability, and helping everyone along the supply chain. So this is one of their bars. This is the organic dark chocolate 71% that we tried today. It's an award winner, as you can see by the little tag on the bottom. It's won an Academy of Chocolate Award. Oh, it's not coming into focus. Other popular bars are the Saltylicious and the Nibblelicious. It's really good if you can get your hands on one. I would highly recommend trying something from the Grenada Chocolate Factory. So that's today's bar. If you want to get a chocolate bar review delivered to you every Thursday, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment and let me know if you've had a chocolate from this company and what you thought of it, or if you've tasted this one and tasted something different than I did. Next time we'll profile another company who makes fine flavored chocolate. Thanks.